please stop with the video saying that this was a kiss cam incident. In my honest opinion, when I think back to last night and that whole scenario, someone knew something about those two people being there together. Whether it had been an employee, a cameraman in that section knew, I don't know, someone knew something. Someone knew who he was, she was.
It didn't end with that Coldplay concert. Oh no, that was just the opening scene of a meltdown that would tear through $1 billion tech empire. What looked like nothing more than an awkward couple dodging the kiss cam became the spark that lit a corporate wildfire no PR team could control. Within days, the damage was explosive. A CEO stepping down in disgrace, the head of HR vanishing from the internet like a ghost, a whistleblower dropping bombshell claims of corporate manipulation, and a wife so silent yet so strategic that her revenge outshined any press release the company had ever put out. But to really grasp how deep this cut went, you've got to rewind, because this mess wasn't born under stadium lights. Insiders swear it was scripted long before the first guitar chord ever hit the air. Andy Byron, once the sleek, untouchable face of Astronomer, an AI powerhouse valued at over $2 billion, had built his entire image on innovation, leadership, and integrity. But on July 16th, all that shiny branding shattered in less than 15 seconds. The Jumbotron caught him sitting next to Kristen Kitt, his HR director, and here's the kicker, that's not his wife, and it wasn't just some casual work hangout. Multiple insiders claim Andy and Kristen had been quietly entangled for months, maybe longer, and in those few frozen seconds,
the CEO of a billion-dollar business is in damage control after his affair with a colleague was exposed.
The world saw what employees had allegedly been whispering about for ages: a married CEO looking caught, a woman twisting away from the lens, and a tech empire about to nosedive. And this wasn't some random flirtation gone wrong. Sources say what looked accidental was actually calculated. Kristen had only been hired 8 months before that night, yet she shot up the ranks to chief people officer, a title usually earned after years of climbing. Something about her rise didn't just raise eyebrows, it set off alarms. Multiple insiders are now spilling that favoritism wasn't just part of Kristen's promotion, it might have been the promotion. And here's the detail nobody can ignore. The very person meant to guard the company's ethics was allegedly wrapped up in breaking them. According to ex-employees, this wasn't some one-time mistake. This was a pattern, one that had been growing in the shadows for a long time. That kiss cam didn't just expose two people in a messy moment, it caught an entire company culture collapsing in real time. Reports say Kristen and Andy weren't even sitting with the rest of Astronomer's top execs. Nope, they were tucked away high in the stands, far from the main floor. Some say it was to hide, others swear the camera crew knew exactly who they were. One source close to the situation claims this wasn't random at all. Someone wanted this blown wide open, and judging by what happened next,
employee accuses CEO Andy of being toxic, says former employees are cracking up over the video. The married CEO was caught on the big screen with the company's HR chief at the Coldplay concert.
Mission accomplished. TikTok went into overdrive, Reddit threads were running wild, and Astronomer's own Slack channels went dead silent. Andy's LinkedIn wiped, Kristen's company bio gone, and the billion-dollar empire they'd been building together cracking from every possible angle. Word is, this kiss cam fiasco wasn't just awkward, it was the last domino in a chain reaction of chaos that had been brewing for months. Insiders say whispers about Andy Byron and Kristen Kitt had been floating through Astronomer long before that night. People allegedly noticed Kristen's power inside the company skyrocketing almost overnight, greenlighting promotions, approving hires, and shaping the culture like she owned the place. She didn't just run HR. As one former employee put it, she was HR, and Andy handed her the keys to the kingdom. But here's where it really starts to sting. Multiple ex-staffers now say that anyone who dared question Kristen's lightning-fast climb or her obvious closeness to Andy got burned. Roles would suddenly restructure, projects got ripped away, and careers were quietly iced out like they never mattered. According to several reports, Astronomer wasn't being run like a normal company. It was a full-blown monarchy, with Andy and Kristen sitting on the unspoken throne. Sources allege Kristen wasn't just some lucky exec on the fast track. She was Andy Byron's personal firewall. One whistleblower claims she helped build an environment where speaking up could sink you, but staying loyal to their little inner circle could boost your career overnight. The same source says employees who raised concerns about Andy's behavior, his hiring choices, or Kristen's unchecked authority often found themselves slapped with formal write-ups.
This requires, to me, not one, but two resignations.
You do have to think about the children and the spouses. We're all laughing about it, but they're all families and stuff.
There are a lot of them.
Or worse, quietly erased from important meetings. This wasn't just bad management, they called it weaponized silence. And then came the money moves. Former staff claim employee stock options were hyped up as a golden ticket, promising life-changing returns. But when the company hit turbulence, only the ex walked away with cash. One ex-employee said they lost more than $70,000 of their own savings while Andy strolled off with a multi-million-dollar exit package. And here's the part no one saw coming. Insiders say Kristen wasn't just a bystander. She was allegedly the mastermind behind some of the most toxic changes to Astronomer's HR game, from shady secret promotions to under-the-table bonus deals that never touched official records. Multiple reports now claim Kristen built a system that gave Andy untouchable control over everything. And according to one insider, that power even spilled over into his personal life. She knew the rules didn't apply to him, the source said, and she made sure they didn't. It paints a chilling picture. A CEO willing to gamble his entire reputation and an HR chief allegedly ready to rip apart the rulebook to keep him shielded. While the internet was cracking jokes about an awkward couple dodging the kiss cam, Astronomer employees were watching their worst fears play out in real time in crystal clear HD for the whole world to see. According to insiders, the most shocking part wasn't even the affair. It was how openly it was allowed to happen. Inside Astronomer, Andy and Kristen's closeness had become an open secret. Whispered about, hinted at, even joked about in private Slack DMs as the power couple upstairs. But no one dared call it out publicly. Why? Because, as multiple ex-team members put it, retaliation came quick and it came hard. We saw what happened to people who asked the wrong questions, one former employee said. They'd get skipped for promotions, yanked off big projects, or suddenly find themselves on a performance plan. Even senior managers were allegedly too scared to say a word, and HR complaints, those reportedly landed right on Kristen's desk and conveniently vanished. This wasn't just a personal mess. Insiders are calling it a total collapse of corporate ethics. One damning leak from a former employee even claimed Kristen helped Andy quietly rewire Astronomer's entire hiring pipeline behind the scenes. Kristen's hiring pipeline, insiders say, was built to favor candidates handpicked by their tight inner circle, and here's the kicker. These weren't always the most qualified people, but they were loyal. Promotions started looking less like career milestones and more like favors handed out at a private club. And through it all, Andy Byron kept the illusion alive, playing the role of the bold, unstoppable tech visionary for investors who had no clue the foundation was already cracking. He could sell sand in the desert, one source told us, but the empire he built was rotting from the inside. Then came the Coldplay concert, the one place he probably thought he could blend in. But someone noticed. And not just anyone. Multiple reports claim the viral clip first hit the internet thanks to a former Astronomer employee who'd been laid off under what they described as shady circumstances. They recognized Andy and Kristen instantly. The way they sat, the way they leaned toward each other. None of it looked random. And here's the wild part. The kiss cam wasn't even on for other couples. No one else got the zoom-in treatment. That lens locked straight onto them, fueling the theory that this wasn't chance. It was a calculated hit from someone who'd watched the company rot and finally decided to torch it in public. Whether or not that's true, the fallout was instant. Within 48 hours, Andy's LinkedIn was wiped clean, Kristen's title was erased, and Astronomer's board had reportedly launched a full-scale internal investigation. Word is, PR firms were on deck before the sun even came up, but this wasn't just damage control, it was corporate warfare. As the video soared past 50 million views, Astronomer's legal and crisis teams went into total lockdown. Attorneys were said to be combing through Slack logs, email chains, and internal memos to see just how deep the rot really ran. One former HR associate claims execs scrambled to delete any digital trail linking Kristen to hiring decisions, while others tried to spin the whole thing as a personal matter. But whistleblowers insist that story was never going to stick. Not when real people had lost their jobs and their savings. Not when ex-employees swear their careers got derailed while Kristen allegedly built hers under Andy's full protection. This wasn't just a romance, one insider said. This was an operation. And while Astronomer's board stayed silent, Megan Byron, the one person with every right to blow the roof off, stole the spotlight without saying a single word. Social media sleuths caught it first. Andy's wife had quietly stripped his last name from all her public profiles just days after the video went viral. No interviews, no statements, no big PR rollout. Just one symbolic move that said everything. And the internet ate it up, crowning her the quiet queen of poetic revenge. One Reddit comment summed it up perfectly. She dropped the Byron name like Andy dropped accountability. Reports say Megan had already locked in a legal team before Andy even handed in his resignation, meaning she wasn't hanging around for apologies. She was gearing up for justice. For many, that quiet flex was the moment the whole mess evolved from just another workplace scandal into a full-on legacy-killing disaster. And here's the twist. Kristen Kitt never said a word. No public apology, no moving on LinkedIn post, nothing. Within 72 hours of the clip going viral, her name vanished from Astronomer's team page, her corporate email went dark, and sources claim she was last spotted logging out of internal systems just before midnight the day after the video hit the net. As one industry insider put it, when HR ghosts you, you know it's bad. Meanwhile, Andy Byron was allegedly pushed out by the board, but not before striking a departure deal. It wasn't a cushy golden parachute, but it wasn't a total cutoff either. And now, Astronomer's interim CEO is left holding a live grenade in a brand in freefall, a shattered company culture, and investors demanding answers. Questions are piling up, and nobody seems ready to answer them. But the biggest one still looms, because according to multiple sources, this could be just the opening act. Industry analysts are already warning Astronomer may never bounce back. The stock price hasn't just dipped, it's been in free fall. And now several of the company's biggest investors are reportedly pulling back, citing leadership failures, integrity meltdowns, and a workplace culture that's now been fully exposed to the world. And it's not just the money that's bleeding out. Recruitment insiders say Astronomer's name has turned radioactive in tech hiring circles. Dozens of applicants have allegedly yanked their interest since the scandal broke. One insider close to the chaos put it bluntly, "You can swap out a CEO, you can boot the HR chief, but you can't erase the internet." That infamous Coldplay kiss cam didn't just catch an affair. It showed the world how fast a billion-dollar empire can burn when its leaders forget everyone's watching. And that's the heart of this story. Not just one man's betrayal or one woman's silence, but an entire ecosystem built on fear, favoritism, and unchecked power. Reports say current and former employees are now linking up in private channels, building a war chest of receipts, screenshots, messages, and testimony in case the hammer drops again. Whispers of lawsuits are already floating around, with word that a group of ex-staffers have reached out to a class action attorney over wrongful termination and possible stock fraud. If that goes public, Astronomer won't just be scrambling to fix its image, they'll be fighting for their life. Meanwhile, industry watchdogs say this mess has reignited calls for tighter HR oversight and real accountability at the top of tech startups. And through it all, Megan, silent, strategic, unbothered, still holding every card in her hand. So what happens next? Will Kristen Kitt ever resurface? Will Slack messages leak? Will investors demand heads or quietly cash out? One thing's certain, the real damage isn't just to the brand, it's deep in the structure. Andy and Kristen may be gone, but the crater they left is still growing. This one's got it all. Power, betrayal, whistleblowers, and cold-blooded karma served under stadium lights. Moral of the story, if you're gonna cross the line, don't do it with your HR chief on the Jumbotron at a Coldplay concert, because the internet never forgets, your employees never forget, and neither does your spouse. If you want more stories like this, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below, and I'll see you in the next one.